Hi, here we have the number of integers n that satisfy these inequalities is how many? So now here we have three terms which are inside the mod. So we'll have to take, what we'll have to do is we'll have to take the critical points as in when each of these is 0. So this is 0 when n is 60, this is 0 when n is 100 and this is 0 when n is 20. So the critical points are 20, 60 and 100. These are the critical points. So we'll have to make now few cases. Few cases will be when n is greater than 100 as in this range. Next case is when n is between 60 and 100. Next when n is between 20, 60 and finally if n is less than 20. So these are the cases that we'll have to make. Okay. Let's start with the first case. What if n is greater than or equal to 100? Now if n is greater than or equal to 100, we'll solve both these inequalities. We'll solve this as well as this. So if n is greater than 100, all these terms will be positive. Since all of these terms will be positive, so mod of n minus 60 will be simply n minus 60, which is less than, and mod of n minus 100 will also be n minus 100. So this effectively gives us that minus 60 is less than minus 100. Multiplying with minus 1, this gives us 60 is greater than 100. Now obviously this is not true. 60 is never greater than 100. Hence this case is rejected. This is never true. No need to even check for the other inequality. This itself is not possible. Hence no need to check. So there is no value of n for which this is possible. Hence we will get no solution from here. Next let's check if n is less than 100 but greater than or equal to 60, this case. Now if n is between 60 and 100, this term here will be positive but this term here will be negative, right? So mod of n minus 60 will be n minus 60 only. Which will be less than mod of n minus 100. Since it is negative, we'll remove the mod and put a negative sign. So this is minus n minus 100. So n minus 60 is less than minus n plus 100. So n goes that side, we get 2n is less than minus 60 plus 100 is 120. So this gives us 160. So this gives us n is less than 160 by 2. So 160 by 2 is 80. So n is less than 80. This is what we get. Okay. From the first inequality. And for this case, if we solve the second inequality where n minus 100 is less than n minus 20. So this obviously is negative, and if n is between 60 and 100, n minus 20 will be positive. So we have minus n minus 100. If we remove the mod, we'll have to put a minus sign here. This is less than, since n minus 20 is positive in this range of n, we'll simply write it as n minus 20. So we get minus n plus 100 is less than n minus 20. So again minus n comes this side, becomes plus 2n. Minus 20 goes that side, becomes plus 120. Hence this gives us that n is greater than 60, which is obviously true. N was greater than 60. So we won't have an inequality here. So the solution that we get is n is less than 80 but n is greater than 60. So what we need to figure out is the integral values of n. So the integral values of n that you get from this case is n can be between 60 and 80, both not included. So n can be either 61, 62, 63, so on till 79. So how many values are there? The total number of values will be 19. There are total 19 values of n possible from this case. Okay. Now let's take another case. Case 3. Case 3 is when n is between 20 and 60. So n is greater than or equal to 20 but less than 60. So if this is the case, let's look at the sign of each of these terms inside the mod. This will be negative, this will be negative, only this will be positive, right? So if this is negative, mod of n minus 60 will be minus n minus 60, which is less than, since this is negative, we'll put a minus sign, minus n minus 100, right? So we have multiplying with the negative sign, we have n minus 60 is greater than n minus 100. So this n and n gets cancelled out, minus 60 is greater than minus 100, multiplying with negative, we have 60 is less than 100, which is actually true. 60 is definitely less than 100. So if 60 is less than 100, that means all values of n will satisfy this particular inequality, these two. What about these two? Now if you compare these two, since this is negative, we'll put a negative sign and remove the mod. So minus of n minus 100 is less than, this is positive, n minus 20. Okay. So we have minus n plus 100 is less than n minus 20. So n minus n goes that side, becomes plus 2n is greater than 120. Hence you get n should be greater than 60. So from this, the condition comes out to be that n should be greater than 60. But what we had assumed was n is between 20 and 60. So basically what happens is, in this range, this inequality cannot be satisfied. Hence this case is rejected. This case is also rejected. Okay. And now finally coming to the last case, let me erase all this. The last case is case 4, where n is less than 20. Now if n is less than 20, all these terms inside the mod will be negative. So what we have is, let's first compare these two. So if you compare these two, this will always come out to be true, as we did here, right? Now let's compare these two. If you compare these two, this is also negative, this is also negative. So what we'll have is minus of n minus 100 is less than minus of n minus 20. Okay. So we'll have minus n plus 100 is less than minus n plus 20. So minus n gets cancelled out, we get 100 is less than 20. Now is it possible 100 less than 20? Obviously not possible. Since this is not possible, we reject this case as well. So out of 4 cases, 3 cases were rejected. Only one case where n is between 60 and 100 gave us possible values of n, and we got 19 possible values of n. Hence the answer to this question will be option D, 19. Thank you.